beginnings. We all need one every now and again. And there's no better place to start renovating your life than by turning towards your inner being. It holds the entire blueprint of you. It is the all and everything of who you are, so getting to know it is just about one of the best things you can do for yourself. But change can be an evolution, honoring your past while looking towards the future. As the great American psychic Edgar Cayce once said, you have to know yourself to become yourself. The inner being, your ego, shadow, inner child, mental self, and higher self. The ego, your shadow. The inner child, your mental self. Your higher self. Why your inner being can't be ignored for very long. Your inner being holds the key to your happiness. The inner being, your ego, shadow, inner child, mental self, and higher self. Your inner being is not an individuated part of yourself. It's the collective noun for the multiple aspects of your consciousness that work together and sometimes against one another. It can provide both challenge and comfort on your spiritual journey. Each of these facets requires your attention in its own particular way, and the first stage of understanding the nature of your inner being is becoming aware of exactly how it functions. The ego. Your ego comes in for a lot of flack within spiritual and psychology circles, but it's greatly misunderstood by many of those who work with it. But the ego has far less to answer for than you might think. The ego might be responsible for many of our more indulgent tendencies and inflated sense of self, but try living your life without a sense of ego. You don't want to live without it. All you really want is to cease being triggered, not to surrender your identity. Your shadow. The shadow is the part of us that is often confused with and thought of as the ego. But they are two very separate entities from one another. You will have no doubt heard your shadow's various points telling you exactly how you're going to deal with a particular person, only be all smiles and laughter when you next encounter them. The inner child. Your inner child is the part of you that represents your innocence. The concept is derived from Carl Jung's personality archetypes and ties in with the functioning of your subconscious mind. During childhood, you take on the thoughts and ideas that are imprinted upon you by your parental figures. And as you develop into an adult, much of that information remains intact as the subtle programming that becomes known as your inner child. The aim of this work is to let go of your past and cultivate a sense of self-esteem. Your mental self. The mental self is your sense of logic. It is the thinking mind and conscious part of you that you're most familiar with. Also, not be confused with the ego. This is the surface part of your being, and although it is the part of you you're most cognizant of, it isn't the high command center. All of your rational thought processes, reasoning, emotions, and decision-making take place on the mental level of your awareness. It is the analytical mind that forms responses to language, math, and other problems. It is how you ingest and internalize materials, new skills, and insights before they become automatic responses. Your higher self. Your higher self is the eternal aspect of your consciousness that has been a part of every lifetime you have experienced on your soul's journey. In terms of the hierarchy of power, your higher self sits high up on top of all other parts of you, and for that reason, has sometimes been referred to as the oversoul. What that doesn't mean is it isn't going to step in and complete your shadow work or integrate your ego. Those are tasks that you must complete using your conscious awareness. What the higher self is and does provide is a blueprint for your journey throughout this life and beyond. It is your intuition and ringing bell of knowingness that guides you in a synchronistic fashion from one growth experience to the next. Again, this doesn't run on autopilot. You have to become mindful of how certain choices make you feel and then act on them accordingly. But for most people, this comes naturally and is no more complicated than just doing what feels good in the moment. Your inner being is the totality of you. And even with your best efforts, it can't be denied. To not have the awareness of your needs is something we have all been guilty of at some point. You can only act on the knowledge you have at any one given time. Your inner being is what makes you tick. When you enter this life, you arrive with a plan detailing the things you want to accomplish to progress on your soul's journey. Eventually, your higher self is going to step in and set you straight. Why is it that so many people quit unfulfilling corporate jobs in their 40s and 50s to pursue their passion? Because it's what they should have been doing all along. Your inner being holds the key to your happiness. Happiness isn't a destination. It's a path you must walk, and the only way to navigate it is by getting in touch with all parts of your inner being. Each aspect knows certain backstreets better than any of the others. Some of those are gatekeepers, while others are your helpers. This is where the real inner work takes place. This is the real spirituality, the work you do on yourself. Not the books you read, the opinions you offer, or the regard you hold yourself in. Showing up consistently and doing the inner work on yourself daily is where the rubber hits the road. It's only by taking responsibility for yourself that you can start to truly shape your reality. And means connecting with your heart space and embodying your I am presence. Because as we touched on at the beginning of this post, there is no true embodiment of yourself until you understand yourself. But once you do commit to the path and engage with each aspect of your beingness, it opens up a whole new world for you to explore. There is a famous passage from the Bible in which Jesus says, "And the kingdom of heaven is found within you," which has a direct parallel with what we're talking about here. Heaven isn't a place that you find, just as happiness isn't a physical destination. Heaven is a state of being that only comes to you by making your peace and integrating all parts of the whole that is your inner being. Your inner aspects of being are the gatekeepers and guides to your own inner kingdom, to the heaven that is within you. It is only by getting to know them that you will know heaven. By Sam Boomer. Greetings, beloved ones. We are sending you blessings of love and light in this now moment, and we are inviting you to open your heart to our message for you. Beloved one, as you are moving through your ascension journey, it is important to think in terms of divine timing. Many feel inspired to create a most wonderful experience and grow impatient when it doesn't happen right away. Your need to create is great, because you are an expression of God. In the ascended state, you can create with the speed of thought, the way God does. The reason for it is that in the UN ascended state, you have not released your ego mind yet. You are on the way though. Therefore, if you wish for your creations and manifestations to speed up, the first step is to fully release the ego mind and become one with the mind of God. The mind of God is within you, just as the ego mind is. It takes deliberate intent and discipline to choose the mind of God instead of the ego mind, every moment of your day. When the ego mind wants to be in charge of your thoughts, simply say the mantra, "I am one with the mind of God." Over time, it will give all the energy to the mind of God and withdraws the energy from the ego mind. When you observe yourself or someone around you not expressing the mind of God, their God self, simply imagine yourself and the other person being filled with the light of God. At the same time, say the mantra in your mind, "I am one with the mind of God." Hold steadfast onto this vision and give it some time. The situation will improve quickly. This is a process. Have patience with yourself. Decide to experience every moment of your life with the mind of God. It is the way into your ascended state, from where you will create with the speed of thought and the mind of God. Know that all is well, beloved ones. Welcome home. We are walking beside you, every step of the way. Dear ones, you are loved beyond measure. Always. I am Archangel Michael and I bring you this truth. Channel, Asara Adams.